City Morgue Volume 2. What is there really to say about this one? It's a very strange project overall. It has some really good bangers, it has a weird little style to it, and then it has some really bad songs as well. So overall, you could say it's a very mixed bag. I know a lot of people think that Volume 3 is the absolute worst, but I would have to say that this one definitely has the lowest lows of any of their albums, but also the highest highs, so it's kind of weird to rank it overall. And even though I probably just made a lot of people upset by saying this, I think we can all agree nobody expected City Morgue to go in this direction for their second volume. This more sad, downtrodden kind of singing style compared to the more aggressive style that they had on the first project. But I have to say the main problem I have with this project is that it's very bloated. It has 20 songs with 17 on the main album and then 3 deluxe tracks, and overall it just seems like the biggest project they ever put out, but I don't think the track list needed that many songs on it. But you know what, I shouldn't be talking about all this at the start of the video, so let's just jump into it and talk about number 20. Sorry, we don't really have any fancy transitions here, so we're just gonna do it like this. 20. So at the very bottom, I have to put Soulburn.
Call me Rudolph, know you got tapped in when you come to New York.
And overall, I really don't know why this song was on the project at all. This is a super boring Sos Mula solo song, and I know I'm always hitting on Sos Mula in these videos, but overall, I have to say, I do like him better, but when he makes a bad song, it really falls flat.
Rip a nigga face half off like a coupon.
The beat is boring, and overall, it just sounds like a throwaway freestyle that shouldn't have even landed on the project whatsoever. The music video is cool though, but besides that, I don't want to waste too much time talking about this one. 19. Next up, we got Baby Wipes.
Bitch, I can buy you, put the stick inside you.
And this is another song that probably could have been altogether cut from the project. It's 90% basic Mula freestyle and then 10% Zilla hook.
I point them in your eyes wide in like you sniffing coke.
But it's not even really a hook because he doesn't repeat it. Overall, it kind of sounds half finished because it's just a really long Mula verse and then Zilla's kind of stapled onto it. I think this might have been a solo Sos Mula song that they put Zilla on to try to make it seem like it was a combo track.
Bitch, I'm riding you, blood free to die, sleep.
But overall, why even put it on the project? 18. So next up we got C4.
Acid base, burn down to the vein.
And I hate to sound like a broken record here, but there's only so much I can say about a basic City Morgue track. The hype level is not up there, the beat's kind of boring, it's kind of basic, you know, it's just an average City Morgue song. If you heard this being played, you probably wouldn't turn it off, but you probably wouldn't want to listen to it again. It's basically the epitome of a filler song. 17. So Peeling Scabs is the first track on this list that I actually kind of like.
You will never see me. Walk away from a grave I made.
But it's mostly just for the beat that they really don't do that much with.
Fuck the system, 'cause I'm a gel baby.
It's just once again another basic freestyle type of thing from both of them. They don't really have a lot of energy, and overall it just sounds like they were bored when they made this.
Just know life isn't easy. Made my fair share of mistakes.
I don't know why so many songs on this project sound like they were made at gunpoint. It was like, hey, you gotta fill this track list out, you gotta make 5 more songs, I'm gonna hold this gun to you and lock you in this room with no water until you do them. And they're just like, okay, let's just, I don't know, do our thing, so. I mean, where's the passion? Come on, guys. 16. But next up, we got Suka.
Hello, bitch, I got a case like I'm a Soviet.
Or Saika, I don't know, it's a Russian word. And this was a deluxe add-on, and overall I don't really know why this had to be added. I mean, it's the best of the filler tracks and probably the last actual filler kind of basic boring track on the album, but it had enough of these, so why add another one?
All you see is black smoke.
I mean, I guess it got the Russian listeners to tune in, so it's good for that, but once again, basic young germ beat, nothing too special about it. Let's move on to the actual good stuff. 15. So next up we got the track Inferior.
When I die, Rizzo far spread out.
And I have to say, this is a very interesting song to say the least.
You're so inferior. You're so inferior.
Overall, I like it. The beat is pretty upbeat and poppy, which is kind of strange for a City Morgue track, but I think it really works here. And Zilla also kind of switches his flow up a couple times throughout the track, which really works well. But the one thing I don't like is that it seems like he's putting on kind of a fake deep voice. Like Zilla's voice is already pretty deep and guttural, so I don't know why it seems like he's really trying to push it down to so inferior. It's kind of strange. And then Mula's verse is also just kind of lackluster.
All my logos be Chanel.
However, I wouldn't say that it should be removed from the song because I really like the part where he actually stops to take a breath
Big box of shells. All my logos.
and then continue on. Kind of a cool effect that shouldn't work, but it actually does for this track. 14. Next up we got Mouth Guard.
I like to break shit, make shit, build it and destroy it.
And this is a pretty fun City Morgue track because it has kind of a creepy 1930s cartoon style beat. that really works well, but then you got Zilla talking about breaking and destroying, and it's kind of basic. I mean, I'm not saying I dislike it, I just feel like with this type of beat that's so unique and different from everything else on the album, and I feel like they really could have played into that, but I don't want to talk about the track that I would have wanted, instead try to rank the track that we actually got. And overall, pretty good, pretty fun, and So Smooth's verse is pretty swaggy. So I really like that. I always like when So Smoola moves away from that more aggressive boom 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 screaming his head off type of style and goes into a more subdued type of rap style where he sounds like he has a little bit of an attitude. It works pretty well for him and I kind of like it. So overall, kind of a basic City Morgue track, cool beat and a little bit of spice with that So Smoola verse, so that pushes it up the list just a little bit. 13. Next up we got Neck Brace. And this is the lead single off of Volume 2, and in my opinion it does a decent job of that. It definitely gives off vibes of being a tour song meant to be played at shows, but the hook is decent and good for getting you amped up, so that's really all it needs to do. The beat's pretty spooky and dope. Moolah does his thing for sure, and the backwards talking at the end is a definite standout. So overall, pretty good song, but kind of paint by the numbers in my opinion. And one thing I want to mention, being the first song off the project definitely has it held at a higher standard because it needs to represent the entire project as a whole, and overall I don't think it does a very good job at that. But overall I think they had to do this because if people had to turn on Volume 2 and immediately heard a more sad song, they probably wouldn't have listened all the way through, so they had to use Neck Brace, so I'm not going to take too many points away from that. 12. Next up we got Drain Out. And I have absolutely no idea how people are going to take this, but I really don't like this track that much. Don't get me wrong, Denzel definitely does his thing and embodies his verse, but that's the only thing that's really pushing this track up the list in any way, because Zilla's singing is just not good on this track. So I don't know if that's because of production or what went wrong, because on other tracks on this exact same project he sounds perfectly fine, so I don't know what happened here. It's just way overly auto-tuned, and I feel like oftentimes they don't auto-tune Zilla, or if they do you don't notice it, but here it's like T-Pain levels of auto-tune. Another interesting thing about this track is I actually think it's where the So Smoola Boom Boom meme came from, because a lot of people are saying his verse is just too upbeat, he has too many ad-libs and it just doesn't fit. But overall I feel like both Zilla and So Smoola are talking absolute nonsense on this track, which to be honest I don't really care because it's a City Morgue track, so we're not really here for the lyrics. But I just have to say, if you're gonna go after So Smoola for speaking nonsense, Zilla is doing the exact same thing. 11. Next up we got the Balloons. And I'm very mixed on this track because I really like the message, the cadence, the overall vibe, but I just can't help but feel like Zilla's singing is just once again really overdone here. I know a lot of people really enjoy Zilla's more raspy, cigarette burnt voice, but it's kind of hit or miss for me, and I feel like here it's a miss, but So Smoola really shows up for this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's definitely still Moolah here, but he definitely tones it down enough to portray a very good message. His verse has a little bit more meaning than everybody else on the track, and overall I just feel like he did a really good job. It's memorable for a reason, but on the overall album it's kind of a weaker track. 10. Next we got The Fall Before the Give Up. And I know I've been going really hard on Zilla's vocals overall, but this is where he really shines because he does a great job on this one, and so does So Smoola. He's able to change the inflection of his voice just enough to portray the more somber tone, and sure the ad-libs are still a little bit goofy with the boom boom, but he's improving, guys, seriously. And then there's Clever, and oh my god, you guys really need to get off Clever's dick because he does a great job on this song. I've seen so many people hate on him during his time in the industry, but this verse proves that he can really sing. That hurt people just hits so hard. And overall, when I listen to it, I actually feel something. You can really tell this man is pouring out his heart and soul into the track, and I really appreciate that. But Zilla and Sos just can't live up to that on this particular song, so I do have to put it a little bit lower, but overall, extremely goated track. 9. Next up we got Minimize. And this track should definitely be lowered down. Zilla is doing a kind of generic flow here with similar themes to other tracks, and the chorus is also pretty basic. But holy shit, I don't know bodies this track. Or maybe it's IDK, I don't listen to this man's music, but maybe I should, because this verse just hits so hard, it's insane.
I'm a minus. Sign on the screen so they click on me till I can't breathe, they want sinus.
I just have to say he's the best feature on this entire album. Like, don't get me wrong, Clever did his thing and definitely helped to improve the track that he was on, but I don't know, definitely made this track.
My enemies got click energy, most can't see who are honest. They want silence, they want quiet.
I almost can't explain why it sounds so good. It's almost like he's layering his vocals here, and it sounds so effortless yet intense at the exact same time.
I'm flying, they want me in jail, they want me in hell, they want a nigga never excel, they want me to take the test, but they want me to fail.
I don't know how he did that, and when he ends it off, I go to the cops like 6'9". It's just crazy, dude.
Want a nigga head till he dead, then I head to the feds like I'm 6'9".
It's breathtaking. It's like he said everything he ever had to say in his entire life and then just dropped the mic and said fuck it and walked away, and that's all he had to do because he completely blew this album up and made it so much better just by appearing on it. 8. V12 is basically what would happen if So Smoola made a whole track out of only his ad-libs. And somehow that works. It's fun, the beat's good, Mula sounds upbeat and hype. And as stupid as the concept is, Mula pulls it off so well, I just don't care. And really you can look at this as an early example of the style he would soon harness when he made 13 Songs to Die To. And I really enjoy that album, so hearing just a little bit of that here definitely makes me happy. And it's even a deluxe track, so we gotta give it extra points for not just being pure filler. 7. Next up we got Trash. And this track is probably the closest thing we've gotten to Be Patient in a long time. It's got that horror movie beat, and it has a chorus that almost sounds like I love the way they run and fall and die. As well as the energy that Zilla unleashes on this track, sounding a whole lot like Aw Shit. Two of my most favorite tracks from City Morgue put into one, and then So Smoola picks up that energy and carries it right to the finish line. And of course you got that iconic line, why you talking out your rabbit ass? And I really like that line about him having a gun in the house and her having a Bible in the house. It's really cool, and it definitely gives off the vibes that he's an absolute demon to be feared. And that's the Mula we truly need back, the one from the original SoundCloud days where he sounded very intimidating, menacing, and very dark, brooding, evil, everything that came along with it. Now we got the silly boom 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 man, which I also kind of enjoy, not gonna lie, but I also like this Mula. My only real complaint I have with this track is that I really feel like he should have toned those ad-libs down. It sounded more like a menacing track, and it kind of takes away the whole feel when he's just going boom 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 the whole time, but it is So Smoola, so what can you do? 6. So Dirt Nap in concept is a pretty average City Morgue track, but in execution it's just so much more. Like, it admittedly starts off pretty boring, but it quickly changes into a more unique Zilla flow that I really enjoy. And then you get that more low frequency yelling from Zilla on the chorus that I think everybody really enjoys. And unfortunately Mula's verse is kind of weak. I mean, it's average, it's not too bad, but overall it doesn't really add to the track. And I really wish you could have carried that energy all the way to the finish line like he had on other tracks. But you know what, that doesn't even matter because Zilla just puts on such a good showing on this track that it had to go high up no matter what. 5. Up next we got Screaming at the Rain. What did you fuck up in there? Who did you blame? And in my opinion, this is the best singing track on the entire album, with Zilla finally putting together a coherent verse alongside a very interesting beat. And it just fits so well with Zilla's pain vocals, where he sounds like he's almost holding in tears as he sings, and for someone with such a gruff voice, it's kind of insane that he sounds so light and melodic on this track.
Hey, many times I prayed, hoping life won't stay the same.
Showing that when Zilla doesn't overplay it, he really is a very talented singer. But the real star here is Mula, who takes the pain to the next level, sounding like he's out of air, crying out one final time to all his fallen homies and the life he never got to live after devoting himself fully to the streets.
When they killed my nigga Woozy, man, my eyes tear. Nah, niggas getting killed, ain't no idea.
And you can call that corny if you want, but I don't care. He really portrays a message here and it hits so hard because of it. When a song can really tell a story, that's more than I can say for most tracks on this project, so it definitely hits it out of the park. 4. It's insane how good Splinter is. It once again comes in with that hard, fast Zilla flow, but it's really Mula who once again steals the show here, with that strange repeated whoa-ho type flow. Especially with the cadence of his voice, it just hits so hard. But I don't have that much to say about it because to me it's very similar to Trash but just one step above, so I have to put it above that. And if you want to know what I think about it, well, listen to what I said about Trash because it's that times 10. 3. Next up we got 16 Toes. And this track is amazing and it's a perfect follow-up to Aw Shit, and maybe even better in some ways because Zilla just flows on this so well. But at the same time, the beat doesn't go too far off from all the other tracks on the list because I feel like Aw Shit definitely did a different thing and I love it for that, but this fits a lot better with the overall project. I mean, that crazy fast flow on a hard-hitting City Morgue beat, what more could I possibly want at this point? And yes, it's a shorter track, but to me that's kind of a blessing because there's a lot of overly long, overpacked songs on this album and not 1 second of this track is wasted. It gives you exactly what you want and it does it super well. 2. Next up at number 2 we got Whoa. And it's so crazy the quality difference between this and Soulburn, with the latter sounding like it shouldn't even be on the project, while this track on the other hand makes this project. It's anxiety-inducing beat paired perfectly with Mula's low-pitched rhythmic woes that lead perfectly into one of the best no-nonsense Mula verses I've ever heard. I especially like the part where he goes nah nah nah. It all comes together to just make such a truly unique and interesting track, never before heard from the Morgue, let alone Mula. And out of all the tracks on this entire album, it's the one that stuck in my head the most. And I think the City Morgue community doesn't like this track, but I don't know what you guys are talking about. Try something different for once in your life. And number 1 is, I mean, there's absolutely no way that ACAB couldn't go at the top. Even though it was only added on the Deluxe, it feels like it should have been here from the start because it's the most memorable and well put together track on the entire album. Both NASCAR and Zilla come together so well on this pretty upbeat instrumental to create an amazing track. The chorus, while extremely repetitive, just works and builds off itself over and over again, getting more hype as it goes on. That first verse somehow completely blends in with the chorus, creating such an effortlessly good song. And of course, NASCAR kills it. This is actually how I first discovered him, and to this day, I think it's still my favorite track from him. And overall, I wish the entire project sounded more like this because I just feel like this is the natural evolution of City Morgue. I know it's less scraping and scratching and screaming, but I feel like they want to go for more of a chilled out vibe, but they went just a little bit too chilled out, I think. And I wrote all of that and recorded it before looking at the City Morgue subreddit, and apparently a lot of people hate ACAB because they think it's repetitive, but I don't know what you're talking about. What City Morgue track isn't repetitive? I mean, this could be a topic for another day, but I just don't understand why so many people want different music from City Morgue, but when they actually get it, they don't like it, say it's repetitive, boring, stupid, whatever, and then when they get the average stuff, they say it's repetitive as well, so they really can't win. We've seen them do the scraping, scratching, thrax beat type of style over and over and over again, and we all have to say it's getting boring at this point. They have to switch it up, and I feel like this song perfectly represents how they could switch it up. It's It's upbeat, it's fun, it's energetic, it's still high key, and it still sounds like City Morgue. And if you don't like it, well, that's okay. It's just my opinion at the end of the day, and you can have yours. You know, I would say try to construct a different argument of why you don't like a song or why you do, but if you just want to call me a poopy head, then yeah, you can do that too. But overall, I love you, and if you want me to do City Morgue Volume 3, let me know, or if you don't want me to do it at all because I have the worst music taste known to man, that's fine too. I'll probably still do it. Subscribe if you want to see more of this. I see you guys hitting them like goals, but I'm not going to staple my nutsack to the side of my leg unless I get to 10,000 subscribers, so if you want that, you gotta subscribe. And I got a Discord linked underneath, an Instagram, a Patreon, all that type of stuff if you want to interact with any of that. But most of all, guys, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.